Hi guys, welcome to this training. In this Python training course, you're going to learn everything about Python programming from the very beginning to advanced level. Whether you are learning Python for web development, data science, or machine learning, this course is for you. You don't need to have any pro knowledge about programming before you can take this course. If you are new here, consider subscribing to our channel as I post video every week. Before we dive into action, I would like to discuss about applications and specialization of Python. Python is a general purpose programming language, which means that it can be used for different things. Python can be used for data science, that is analysis of data, machine learning, that's AI, artificial intelligence, and it can be used for web development when combined with Django framework. In this course, I'm going to take you Python for data science, machine learning, and web development. So if you are new here, consider subscribing to our channel and turn on the bell icon so you get notified each and every time I publish new videos. Let's go straight. Before you can code with Python, you need to have Python installed on your system before you can start coding Python. So you head down to python.org. The link will be on the description box below. Then locate download Python if you are using Windows. You can download Python for Windows. If you are using Linux or Mac, you can download Python depending on the operating system you're using. So for this course, I'm using Windows. We're going to install Python for Windows operating system. So you click the latest version of Python is here. You can click here direct to download Python here. Then the download will start immediately, right? Then when it's completed, you can find it in your file system. I've already downloaded my Python here. So I have the latest version of Python 3.1.12.1. Before you install Python, you can check if Python is already installed on your system by searching from your command prompt. If you open command, type cmd here. The first one, you click OK. So you can type Python dash dash version like so. If you are not getting any response from here or you get um, Python not recognized, you know that Python is not installed on your local machine. So you need to download one and install before you can follow along with this training. So let's follow the installation process straight away. Just double click on the Python, wait for it to come up. So now you get this installation wizard pop up. So you have to enable add Python to the path, right? If you enable this, that means you're going to provide admin privilege each and every time you want to launch Python or when you want to install it. So I'll just add Python to the path. If you do not add it to the path, you will not be able to follow along with these tutorials because you'll be having problems. All right, so from here, I can now click here, next. All right, while we are installing Python, Python has been known as the language for machine learning and artificial intelligence. Python is also used to build complex web applications, which are running today. Example of softwares that are developed using Python, that's web application, are YouTube, Spotify, and Instagram. Is being developed using Python Web. That is Python Jungle. And Python have a lot of communities which makes the work so easy. So once the installation is successful like this, we can verify that we have successfully installed Python in our local machine. How can we do that? We can now head over back to the terminal. Remember, you cannot use this particular terminal again because you're going to have the same result. We can close here and open new terminal again by typing cmd, and we click on terminal like so. So we can still type now Python dash dash fashion on the terminal and hit on enter. Now you'll be able to see the Python fashion you are currently working on. With this, you are sure that Python is now installed on your local system and you're now ready to start programming Python straight away. So next thing I want to talk about is how to invoke um, Python interpreter. Python interpreter is environment that is provided for from Python for you to test your code, right? So you can invoke this interpreter by typing Python on the terminal right where and hit on enter. You're going to see something like this. This is what we call Python interpreter. The Python interpreter serves as a calculator. I can do a couple of steps here and I'm still going to get the result. For example, I can do 4 plus 6 says like so, then I'll have the answer as 10 because the Python interpreter serves as a calculator. You can also do something like print using the print method to print hello world. Hello world, then you're going to get the output like this, right? This is what we call Python interpreter, and this is how to invoke Python interpreter in Python. Now, we want to move to the next step in this training, that is text editor. If we are developing complex application, there's a need for us to have a sophisticated text editor that will help us to program and organize our code in one place. So we are going to look at some text editor present in the market, and we know the one we're going to use throughout this training, and we're going to walk through the installation process of this text editor. All right, so text editor are integrated development environment used for programming, right? So there are different types of text editor. So if I type in text editor, text editor for programming, you're going to see different text editor displayed here. One of which is Visual Studio Code. We have Sublime Text, we have PyCharm, depending on different ones and the one you would like to use. But in this training, we're going to make use of Visual Studio Code. Different developers prefer Visual Studio Code because of its rich extension, which can be used to program different languages like Python programming, Java programming, even Android development. So we're going to work our way to install Visual Studio Code on our local computer so we can kickstart the training in proper. So you're going to come to visualstudio.org. You're going to come here, Visual Studio Code here. Then you're going to download, you're going to click here, you're going to download the Visual Studio Code depending on the operating system you're using. If you click here, you're going to see list of like Mac OS, Windows, and Linux are here. And there are many others operating system that you can use Visual Studio Code with. If you are using Windows 7, I don't think Visual Studio Code is going to work on Windows 7, even though it works, some support are being left. left out. So you need to download Visual Studio Code depending on the operating system you are using. I'm using Windows. I'm going to download here. So just hit on this button. The latest version of Visual Studio Code will be downloaded and stored on your system. I've already downloaded this. The download will start automatically. If it did not start, you can click on this direct link. But I've already downloaded this Visual Studio Code and it's in my system. I'm going to walk you through the installation process straight away. If you like this video, remember don't forget to subscribe. And if you are new here, you need to subscribe to this channel as I post video every week. So you're going to learn better. Right. Let's go straight to the installation of Visual Studio Code, which will start our first Python programming straight away after the installation. So I can go straight here. This is the Visual Studio Code installer. Just double click on it to wait for it to install. All right, you're going to see this prompt coming up to install Visual Studio Code. Let me just minimize all this. Right, so you can agree to the terms and condition. Click on next. Click on next. You're going to click on next. Then, if you want the desktop icon to be created, you enable this. Make sure that add to path is enabled. If it is not enabled, you're going to have some challenges during this training. All right, so I can click on next and continue, next and continue, while we wait for the Visual Studio Code to install in our local computer. Right. So guys, I'm just going to give you the breakdown of how the training is going to go as the Visual Studio Code is installing. In this training, I'm going to talk about Python from the very beginning as we have started. And in every phase of the training, I'm going to drop a task. So you feel free to submit your task or post it on the comment section below, share it with the community, and you can also follow us on our community and everything is going to go fine. So the Visual Studio Code has been installed successfully. We can click on finish and launch. Visual Studio Code is going to launch for the very first time. Sorry, let me close this. So now that we have the Visual Studio Code, I can open the Visual Studio Code, right? I can just double click on Visual Studio Code. You're going to see the icon right there. Sorry, I have codes already. That's why that open. So I'm going to open a new instance of Visual Studio Code while I close this one. All right. This is how Visual Studio Code will open for you. You're not going to see this recent work because you don't have any recent work here, right? So the environment of Visual Studio Code, we have files. If you click on files, we have create text file, new window, open files, and many other things, and save as and all those. And you see auto save. This is very important. If you this is how your code will show up, you have to enable this so when you are typing your code will be saved automatically without pressing on Control X or you save it manually. So I'm going to enable this. So when you enable this, this is how it will show. So do well to enable this so your code will be saved automatically. Right? So we have edit, we have select and many other things. As we continue in this training, you're going to understand more. If you click here, this section will expand. This is what we call Explorer, where all your open codes in your folder will be displayed in this Explorer. And here is where you can search. And um, this is for source control. That's for source control like GitHub if you have any. And this is debugging, and this is where you will install extension. You don't have to panic if you don't know how to use this because you're going to learn everything from the very scratch till you understand everything. All right. So let's move to the next level, which is our first Python project. Wow. To create your first Python project, straight away down here, I like to prepare my working environment first before I work with um, before I start coding. So in that case, I'm going to create a folder. I can just create a folder in this place. Let me create one folder here. So in my desktop I do, so I can just say um, training, training as the name. All right. Okay. So now in this folder, I'm going to put all of my files here, including my first Python project, right? So to achieve this, to open this with Visual Studio Code, you have to drag it like this and drop it here. Then you're going to say open with Visual Studio Code, then you leave it, right? Then the folder will be opened on Visual Studio Code. That's one of the way of opening it. Or if you don't want it that way, you can just double open Visual Studio Code like so. When you open, then you're going to click here and do open folder, right? So when you click on open folder, your desktop will open. Then you're going to select the folder, which is the training folder, and click on open. It's another way of opening the folder in Visual Studio Code. So anyone you feel good with, you can go alongside with it. All right. So to create a new file, a Python project, you need to right click on this explorer. Remember, if the explorer is collapsed, you can click here for it to expand. Then you're going to click down here, right click it. Once you right click, you're going to see these options like new file, new folder, add folder to workspace. So you're going to use new file, right? If you don't want to use here, you can click as well as here. You're going to see new file, right? You still click it, you're going to ask you for the name, the type of file you're going to create. But I like using here, right? I'll just right click here and click on new file. Then I enter the name of my file. So I'll just say project one, project1.py. Remember, when you are creating a Python project, what makes a Python project is the extension .py, so you will not forget it, right? Python project1.py. So I'm going to hit on enter. You can see it up here well, right? Okay, so our file is created, Python file is created. Here we can start writing our Python script. So let's just write hello world and see how it goes. So we can use the method print, which is a Python script. Then we're going to say hello world, hello world. All right. So to run this project, if this is the very first time you are using Python on your Visual Studio Code, you need to install Python extension before this thing will work fine. So you come down to extension, click on extension, then click here, search for Python, right? Remember, your system must be connected to the internet before you do this. When you search for Python, you're going to see this. I've already installed the extension. This Python IntelliSense, you click on it, then you're going to see install, right? So you're going to click on install. You wait for it to complete the installation process, then you're going to come back to this, right? Okay, so once that is done, you can now run this. That's your first Python project. How to run it? It's just you have a couple of ways to run this, but I'm going to show you the one we'll be making use of in this training. We're going to use our terminal down here to run the project, right? So you're going to head down here and look for run, right? Or look for terminal, sorry, look for terminal. You can still use C to run the project without debugging, but I don't like that. I'll be using the terminal, right? So you come down to terminal, click on new terminal. You're going to see this pop up down here. That's right. This is what we'll be using to run this our file, right? So we can just type Python Python. Python, the name of the project, in this case is project1.py. So Python space project1.py. So we're going to hit on enter for it to run. Wow, you can see that we have hello world, which we enter here on the terminal. That means our Python file has executed successfully. Wow, congratulations and welcome to programming once again. All right, if you have any difficulties or questions, you can drop your questions or comments or anything suggestion on the comment section below. All right, let's do some other couple of things so I can still use the print. Print is the function that display anything on the parentheses on the terminal down here. It will just lock it to the terminal for you to see. So, hello world. Remember, I use double quotes, single quotes like this. Hello world. How are you? How are you doing? All right. So to still run it again, we're going to type Python, the name of the project, that's project1.py. Here, down here, and hit on enter. Then the two codes are going to execute. Okay, so in this time, I'm going to talk about code execution so you're really going to understand. Notice that when I add this and I run the code again, the first code executes before the second code executes. Now, in programming, code executes line by line, right? Okay, when we get to some level in this training, you're going to understand how to alter the maybe repeat the execution of code based on certain conditions. But for now, just know that code executes line by line. All right, so we can still do something like print 5 plus 5, which will give us 10. Remember, this particular one, I didn't add any code to it because it's a number, but this is a string, like a sentence. All right, so I can run it again, Python project1.py. So you're going to see 10 down here while others also execute. Whoa, welcome to programming. So this will be the end of this section of the training, but I'm going to leave a task for you. I want you to write to display on the screen, hello world, welcome to Goodisoft Academy. This is what I want you to do. Your program should output hello world, welcome, welcome to Goodisoft Academy. All right, this is exactly what I want the output on the terminal. So you consider doing the task. You can post your code snippet on the comment section below or share it with the community. See you in the next video. Remember to subscribe to our channel, share it, like it, and invite your friends. Bye.